Hello, I'm Dr. PPP. I'm the celebrity guru. I'm the marathon man. I'm the author of the upcoming book, You Are the Celebrity. I'm also the author of the upcoming book, Dynamo Diaries. I'm super excited to present to you on the Celebrity TV, all the way from Vancouver, Canada. Patrick Walsh. Patrick is the entrepreneur, poet, singer, actor, producer, and oh my god, singer, philosopher. Wow, 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 wow. Patrick, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for giving your valuable time to my celebrity viewer and pouring your heart. So, Patrick, would you share your story? Who the Patrick who came X years ago and became who you are right now? With my viewer, please.
All right, so whenever you ask a question like that, there's a lot of highs and lows. So we won't go through those. So I would like to be able to start with the fact that I was born in Nova Scotia to a family of 12, and I'm the fourth oldest. And I'll move along to present time, but I'll also state that my purpose was to study spirituality, philosophy, and to do it not in the traditional sense, but mainly to go about in life and find where I wanted to study, what I wanted to study, and with whom. And that was my life journey. And that is culminating into a situation where now I want to have a TV program called Viewpoints and Points to View. And that is one of my projects that I'm working with. And just to update your audience on what you were speaking to on your introduction, I write poetry, I write philosophy, I sing, and I'm an entrepreneur. I have a business that is with a company that's in over 50 countries called Sunrider International. They distribute herbal foods, skincare products, nutritional foods for health, weight management, cleaning products, and fitness. My passion and goal is to be able to use my ability to communicate philosophically knowledge that I find that is useful for people who desire to have it. And that's in the form of poetry, writings I do, and interviews with other people. And so I'm engaged in those activities now at the age of 63, and that's what I'm about.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, so you have about raised as a 12 siblings together. Wow, wow, wow. Amazing. And really, you don't look like first of all 63. And at 63, how can you manage all these huge tasks?
Well, in the last while, I had some health challenges. And whenever you get a little bit older, your life starts to take a turn for the worse. But is it for the worst or is it for the better? It depends upon how you observe that reality and what you do about it in the moment. Because life is regenerating. It has the capacity to bounce back and aid and assist you to survive if you follow the rules and laws of survival and don't just follow the norm. So I chose not to use drugs and not to take that kind of approach to my health. Obviously, if I needed in an acute situation, one wouldn't avoid doing that if you really needed to. But if something can be dealt with nutritionally with herbs and in a natural way, of course you would use that first, because you're facilitating the natural communication systems of the body to be able to regenerate and to be able to recover from conditions that you're living with that you would like to improve. And so that is fundamentally the common denominator to how I was able to recover from not so very good health to much better health now. And with the energy and the creativity and present time to be able to go forward as though each day was new, similar to when you're a child, when you get up in the morning and you go out and life is playful, where you want to play. And that's where I'm at now spiritually. I won't go into all my studies on that or how I came about that from that level at this time. But I am speaking to the nutritional side of it, because if you're not healthy, if you don't eat natural herbal foods and get away from a lot of the toxic foods that we take into our body, your spiritual evolution with yourselves and with yourself and your ability to continue life's purpose will be cut short. And it's not death you need to fear. It's what you don't achieve in life that's near. That's a little poem I just put there. It was, what are you doing now? What are you doing and facilitating what you need to produce in the moment? So coming into that spiritual realization, I'm making every effort possible to provide for myself in the way that I'm obligated to the Creator for giving me this gift of living.
Wow. Amazing. Again, the way you speak so smoothly, so like, does your life makes you that way, or like you are from the childhood like that, or like any situation happened to your life and makes you so polished?
Well, we are spiritual beings, and we are not mass. We are not the images that portray who we are in this illusion of life that we call the physical universe. In order to be smooth, you must be serene. To be serene, you must be able to detach and remove yourself out of and away from the introversion of the existence that you find yourself in. It doesn't mean that you have to completely detach. As a matter of fact, you have much more affinity, and you share a much different reality by being able to know how to create it from a spiritual level rather than being encased in it as matter. So in this lifetime, when I arrived, I decided, now I know I decided, being aware of that. At the time, many years ago, of course, I didn't know that. But once you're awakened and once you realize spiritually who you are, that you're not time, you're not space, you're not matter, you're not physical energy, you're above these things and create these things. Once you know this to be true, then you are the truth. You are the word of your own knowingness. And your body can be the outward form of your inward thought of your own realizations. And so as a child and as a young person coming up, when I left school very, very young and went out into the life to discover my spiritual destiny, because that was my calling, I automatically started to evolve into this being that I am now. I won't go through the different vias, VIA, of how that came about or what spiritual studies I did to help bring that about with where I am right now, because I don't want the attention put on something that symbolically may interrupt what my message is. Fact is that you are you and you can evolve, and you were evolving all of life through the experience of existence to keep moving from one state to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. If we were in infinity, if we were immortal, we would not need then to have any physical universe to arrive in, unless it was necessary, and unless through that significant experience you could actually improve from one level to another. If that's so, that means there are no absolutes. There is only a continuing going in a direction toward a higher level of beingness, and we have to accept that we are on that journey. And when we do, the simplicity of living our purpose that is within becomes much easier.
Wow, that's amazing. Even when you speak, looks like music is coming out of you. So can you sing one of your poem, please, for my viewer?
Say one of my poems or sing one of my poems? Let's see where my book is, because I have one in writing. I did a book, excuse me for coming off camera here for a moment.
Sure.
Let me see where my book is. If it's close by, I could probably why don't I just make poems up in the moment, because I create poetry in the moment.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You can create poetry just like that. Wow, that's a great gift.
Yeah, anybody can call me up. I had it on my Facebook. I said, if you want a poem, just ask me for somebody for some occasion and I'll write them a poem. But let's see if a poem comes to me. Well, a poem will come to me for the moment of the audiences that is there.
It's about the spring. Today is the spring's first day, 28th of March, 2017, first day of spring. So can you sing about a poem about spring?
Well, let's see what I'm inspired to.
Okay.
Okay. Your moment of giving
Okay.
starts with forgiving. For losses have no life when you live in your truth day and night. You see, it's not about being wrong. It's not about being right. It's only the journey in your days and your night. For we travel not just in space and time, but through our souls, through our eternal minds. It brings us knowledge that we haven't seen, for all mankind to understand to each other what we mean. So in this moment, let our love prevail, and let hatred go, and sincerity be the detail. There you go, little something.
Wow, wow.
And I'll make a poem for you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Bring it on. Bring it on. Why not? Please.
We've come together, you and I. We speak in word before we die. But we never do. We only live. So why live the lie? Let's live the truth. There you go.
I loved it. I loved it, Patrick. Wow. Thank you so much. So for my celebrity viewer, if you're watching Patrick right now, you can give service to Patrick, and with Patrick is going to give you very good service for you, definitely. And also, Patrick, for the entrepreneurship, I have a question that there are two questions comes to my mind. That why entrepreneurship is needed. Somebody say like I have a good job, or I don't have time, or whatever the reason why entrepreneurship is needed, like having their own business with small amount of money, and why is necessary. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And second thing, when you approach, sometimes you have to approach stranger people too, and then or maybe relatives. Doesn't matter in this sense. But when they say no, how do you handle the no? When they say
okay. There's one truth as a common denominator that we all share. We are spiritual beings. We are mankind, and we're gifted together here in brotherhood. It's not about taking advantage of one another. It's about service to the other for what they can achieve. It's not about what you can get from somebody else to get to where you want to go. That isn't what it's about in life. But it's very difficult to make this shift. It's very difficult to go completely 100% into the service mode because you have to humble. You have to be willing to exchange of yourself with somebody else. You become vulnerable. You have to go to the depths of the truth of the integrity of who you are. You have to be honest. And whenever you're doing that, you're taking away the facade. You're taking away about the image that you're presenting forward in front of somebody that you're trying to sell. You're no longer hiding behind it. You're no longer putting that up there and saying, this is better than I am. If I just show what I represent, then others will like me. They will agree with me. They will buy into that concept and that idea. And I decided I don't want to live that way. I don't want to live that kind of life. And I only wanted to be an entrepreneur for the purpose of serving others, to help people become better with who they are. And the two things that I find people really, really need in this world, they do need money, because money is a via of communication. And without it, you don't have that symbol necessary to exchange anything there is in life as far as things you need. Of course, we don't need money to talk and to enjoy the beautiful weather, listen to the birds sing a wonderful song. And no matter what money represents, it doesn't produce anything by itself. It's only a via of exchange of communication. The value of that via determines how wealthy or how well you're going to do in life in the perspective of your entrepreneurship. Look at your communication as being a valuable commodity. Don't underestimate it. If you go into somebody's home and you look at everything they got in their home, you will see that they themselves have all kinds of products and services that they use that they tell other people about. And they send people and refer people to other companies to be able to buy these services and buy these products, but they never get paid anything. So entrepreneurship for me is a way in which I can connect communication with those people who are in need, who don't otherwise have an opportunity to be able to have access to a service or product where they can get a share of the income of what that represents. So Sunrider International does that. It pays over 50% to its distributors. To me, it is actually the best payout there is from a marketing perspective as an income as a business. It is in over 50 countries. It's the largest herbal food company in the world. And I wanted to reach all those single moms and people that are working hard, trying to make enough money to be able to pay for their children, to have housing and clothing and healthcare and food and money to get around. And that is my primary purpose. Can you make more than that? Can you get into the tens of thousands of dollars a month eventually? Well, fine, yes, you can do that. But it's the masses that need to be able to have a share of the wealth in their life. And that's what motivates me to be an entrepreneur. And anybody I will help, they just need to contact Patrick Walsh Vancrooner on Facebook or patrickwalsh931@hotmail.com. And you can join with me and I will help you. The good thing is you don't need an investment of any substantial amount of money. As a matter of fact, it's free in India. It's free in Vietnam, and it's only $110 here in Canada to register and get started, and it gives you a few things to start with. It's a consumer-based business by referral only, and you only get paid when people buy products. So I'm not asking you to put any money up front, and I'm not asking you to get other people to put money up front in order for me to make money. That's not what this is about at all. So let's not misunderstand that. So my entrepreneurship is a spiritual purpose. It has to do with using my communication skill to communicate something with integrity that can help other people. Hopefully that long explanation was sufficient enough to clarify where I stand with it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
you asked me another question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if somebody says no, what are they saying no to? Are they saying no to the concept or what it is that you want to communicate? Or are they saying no to what you presented? Now, communication is based on reality. You must duplicate, in other words, make a copy in your mind of what is the other person's reality. Where are they coming from? What are they communicating? What are they originating that is their need? And that's what you have to establish. If you're interested in helping somebody else with what you have, be careful not to just present symbolically of what it is that you have by talking about it as a product or something you want to sell or something you want them to sell. They have to be able to see the value before the desire is going to be there to communicate with you on the subject matter. So communicate to the reality of a person by finding out what their need is in life. What is it that they are attempting to achieve? And how are they going about doing that? And then honestly, if you have something to offer it. And if you don't, know other people that do and refer them. I have other organizations and services that I refer other people that I have studied that are very helpful that I can't provide for. So it's about sharing and giving to another by being a friend, listening, and taking time to get to know a person's need, and then they will take a look at what you have. And if it's a consumer good or whatever it may be, at least they'll try it out, and they'll put a little bit of money forward to buy enough of it to see if it works for them. That's a considerable different approach than if I were to talking to you, for instance, say, hi, I'm Patrick. I'm with a company and I got all these herbs and I just know you can do really well financially with this company. And if you buy a couple of $100 worth of these products right now and take them home and try them, I know you'll call me up in 24 hours and say, I want to do this. Would you want to join? So there's two different approaches there that I tried to display. I take the first.
Absolutely, that's amazing. Tell me more, what is spirituality to you? What do you mean by spirituality according to you?
I'm so glad you asked that question. That's the best question of the night. Because I live in that reality, and I had to start owning it and take responsibility for it instead of denying it. This universe is a universe of denial. And it seems to be rigged in such a way where if you attempt to pursue the goal of higher enlightenment awareness, it's very quick to try to make less of you in that regard. Because physical universe by itself, in and of itself, if it's left on its own, is counter-spiritual. Because it creates an illusion of space and time. And a spirit is not in space and time. It's not limited to space and time. Space and time is only a reference point where matter can exist within it over a duration. If I take my hand and I move it from here to here, it is no longer here. It's in space here. It's matter. It's in space. The time is the movement from here to here. But when a spirit identifies that it is this reality, spiritually, it's trapped. It cannot move out and away from that in order to move up into the spiritual realm. So, having said that and understanding some basic mechanics of this universe, one moves up spiritually by becoming aware that they are a spirit. You are basically fundamentally aware. You are basically fundamentally the total knowingness of you. You are fundamentally the total truth of any truth that will ever be. And from that base, all other truth is observed as a secondary truth. If that's true, then each one of us is total truth. But then we have an agreement of a shared physical universe. So basically, we're all creating each other from an agreement of a place of cause that happened long before we got here. It's by no accident that you walk down the street and the bus is driving there and the bus driver's driving the bus. And then you're talking to somebody and you're sitting in an exact seat and you're walking around and it's just, everything is moving along through one place to another. If we don't create each other in those spaces, in that time, through that time, at a duration from cause, distance, and effect, causing from the spiritual through the distance to the effect, which is the physical universe, and if we don't have that continually going on, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, our agreements would not be such where we would meet. We could not contact one another. If you look at a spirit, and the spirit is the identity of itself by itself, with no space, no matter, no time, no energy, physical. It just is in the immortality, in the infinity of itself. It doesn't have any other reality it shares. On a spiritual realm, at the spiritual level, we exist in a beautiful heavenly state, and it's not about movement because there is no motion necessary. It's not about place because there is no place. That's an illusion. A place is only where you have agreed to occupy in mass to call it a place, which is a non-truth. Okay, so if we remove that, then we must move up into this place of serenity, back to where we, in a state where we originally were, but better than that, hopefully, if my philosophy is correct about what we're doing in this duration. Now, do you do this before this lifetime, or do you do it after the lifetime? I found out from my own discovery that we are on a cycle where, because time and space and matter is an illusion, after you become more spiritually aware, this becomes a very small, important point. The amount of time that we live in a lifetime or many lifetimes to a spirit is very, 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 very little. So once you see it in the cycle of where we are now, you find out the answer becomes that, oh, this is just a duration. This is just an experience that I'm having now. Now life becomes much more livable. It's easy to take on the challenges because you know you're not trapped to one, limited to one lifetime or to all the pain of existence of last lifetime, but that it can all unravel and be all undone, those things that you don't like, or those things that you disagree with now can change. But when you're in present time reality, spiritually, you must communicate to the now in order to change how the future is going to be later. The physical universe doesn't just jump up and change by itself. It has to be evolved. It's not just going to stay in one place like it is always. It'll actually degenerate and go down further. So we all are part and parcel of creating together from a spiritual place a better universe to then further evolve ourselves spiritually to be in a better place in the next lifetime and in the next lifetime. So the common denominator is that we are all a spiritual being. We all come from one place, and that is where you are, as you are now. Everything else is an illusion. And we are playing this particular living experience of life and sharing and doing like what we're doing now. And from there, we continue. But you have to find out what that is. Don't waste this precious moment. Don't get caught up in all the materialisms and all the false ideas about what you are not or about what you can be in the material world. You are you. You are responsible for you 100%. No one is going to take you out from where you are. That is your responsibility. You can only be aided and assisted to arrive. Are you going to arrive?
Absolutely. And my celebrity, you're also ready to going to arrive. That for sure, right? Yes. The way you share your wisdom about spirituality, you have to write several books about spirituality because the world needs your message to be out. Your love for poetry, of course, that book also, you have to write, that's my thought came to my mind, did you write any book so far yet, or thinking to write? Or
well, I'm sending all my poems to a lady. She started Life Vest Inside. Orly is her name, Waba. I think that's how I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I met her. She spoke at the TED Talks in Vancouver. I was performing downtown, and we met in a hotel. And we had a little talk, and I've been friending with her. And she just recently released a book, and I'm sending her all my poems. And I told her that, and first of all, the act of kindness. She talks about kindness. She has people that dance in I think about 100, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, all over the world for the act of kindness. And it's called Life Vest Inside. You can look it up. And so I'm sending her all my poems and ask her to do what she would like to do with that to support her cause. It's a nonprofit organization. My poetry will be all up online eventually, because I believe poetry and the communication of it is a realization process that you can have. But we don't use it, and it increases intelligence, it increases awareness, and it allows for a dialogue around principles that otherwise aren't seen. And so I write certain poems, hundreds of them. I'll give you one like this, for instance. The power of one becomes the power of all when all the power becomes the power of one. And what does that mean? Some people feel that power, when you give power to another, you're giving up power of yourself. That depends on where the power is going to. I look at it this way. If power doesn't flow back to enhance the power when you're giving power to someone, then of course the power is it's not in the right direction. But let's say somebody's weaker and they're not intentionally wanting to take away your power, but they need power or they need love. Let's even use love. Someone doesn't love themselves enough. They feel they've been unloved or hated. Is it wrong then to give them love? No, because if you give them love, that love will transcend. They will change. They will start loving again because you first loved them. So it's very important to love people. And it's very important to share what your power is. It's your power. And your power is no more or less than anybody else's power in the principle of what I mean. Some of us are definitely more intelligent than others. Some of us may be more powerful than others, potentially as beings, because we're not all equal. We all have equal rights in how we live together. We all have certain equality at a certain level, but we're not all equal in potential. Some poets are far better than I am. Some people sing far better than I do. Some people can play basketball far better than I'd ever play. That's just rationality. So back to the point, I think about the poems and the books. I want to write them, and there's so much I want to write about and put forward, and I'm about to put on my YouTube show, Viewpoints and Points to View, which is going to be interviews, but I'm also going to communicate philosophically for YouTube observers. I will write something up that I'm channeling, that I have, that's there, and then I will speak about it. I'll take a poem and I'll speak about it. And it's going to be nice when I can do it more live when questions come in, because questions help align you up with what the message is to be when you're communicating outwards to a public. That's a disadvantage you have when you're not communicating directly with the public, because you're not, answers aren't being, questions aren't put up that you can pose and resolve in the concept of poetry unless you have somebody live. And that's very much appreciated. I like that when I'm communicating on Facebook. So we'll be doing that. I will be writing. I will be putting my philosophy up and looking forward to doing more of that. I can't wait to go to India.
Absolutely. India needs you, Patrick.
India fundamentally is the landing ground or holy soil, let me put it that way, where spirituality has been kept alive and exported across the planet. India has been able to protect that identity through all of the civilizations of the past of materiality that has robbed man from his spiritual nature. Psychiatry and psychology of the day look at man not as a spirit. They even redefine the words psychology and psychiatry to mean something medically. If you look it up and see what its definition is, it is very clear about that. It doesn't acknowledge that it's studying the psyche as a spirit. They don't acknowledge they're studying the soul, which is what it is supposed to mean. And this was done to medically, chemically control people toward a perversion of what the personality of what a person is, so that they can then limit and erase from a person's consciousness the spirit of who they are. This was deliberate and intentional. I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but I speak truth, so therefore I'm not really connected to this world of what offends or doesn't offend people when you speak truth. You must speak truth. Gandhi speaks truth. Martin Luther King speaks truth. Christ and Buddha and Krishna and all of the people and all of us have a responsibility to carry the word that is within, and that is your only truth. So if you're looking for a resolve to your spiritual and physical and life circumstances, you need to connect with the truth within, and that's where the solution of your problems will be. And all the other answers will start to come to you from there, because responsibility is going to the right place. So responsibility has to come to you and then from you outward. You can't expect God or any other entity to take full responsibility for all of your past acts, your present acts, and your future acts that are going to wrong you or others. You must take responsibility for yourself, for your past. You must take responsibility for where you are now. And you must create into the future by moving up out of the present, and know that you have the capacity to create in space and time your future. That's your freedom. That's your right. It's your God-given freedom and right. You do not have to be limited by the barriers that are put in front of you that are physical in nature. No matter how rich other people may appear to be around you, no matter how much you think other people have, it's not what other people have that matters to you, or what you even have not that matters to you. It's what can you give to yourself that exists within that you are denying. And if you suppress it and you deny it and you make excuses and you keep it down and you keep it stored away from where you are, and you cheat yourself and you lie to yourself and you complain and you do all of these things that keep you from going forward, then I just want to say I love you anyway. and that we are here when you need us, and spiritually, and you'll eventually have to. I will give you a little tip. That journey becomes very painful, and the lesson to learn is that you will live in pain, and it won't go away, and what you're not confronting will always stay with you, no matter this lifetime or the next. So a little caution. If you're living in this life now, in this universe, and you have this opportunity to communicate and listen to words of wisdom, treasure it. It is the treasure that you want to behold, and you have it. Share it. When you're getting a little older and you've got so much to give to all your children, how's it working out for you? I like that line. How are they doing? Are they just sitting back and absorbing what you're giving them? Or are they giving to their maximum? Are they coming in and knocking on your door and say, Dad, what can I do for you today? Mom, what can I do for you today? How can I help you? You know? So, if you want people to do well, assist them to contribute to life. And life will be a very wonderful dance indeed.
Wow, wow. I just, keep hearing you the way, you are sharing like from deep down this spirituality and your thoughts about, like awesome.
Well, it's wonderful. It's wonderful that you have this platform, and as a person, you have opened up the channels of communication where you're encouraging to be able to be shared. That is a spiritual calling that has drawn for doing it. I don't communicate with everyone. This is the first interview to be able to be here with you and to be able to share with you what your heart is absorbing and what you're giving out and acknowledging. Because we're not an island unto ourselves. I wrote these poems and I wrote these philosophy, and the spirit above me, the higher spirit or God or however you want to look at it, looking down at and saying, those words don't have no life unless they're given to the living, unless they're given to people to absorb and experience and have. And after going to different temples, I used to live at the Hare Krishna temple when I was doing some nursing work, looking after devotee. And I studied there for some time. And then I went to the Sikh temple for a number of years teaching, and then the Buddhist temple for 2 years. And I studying these different philosophies and others too along the way. And I came to know that when you exchange with others, and when you're wanting to experience what the reality is of others around you in life, you have to feel safe and free to be able to do that. Take advantage of it, really. Because any one nation or any one religion dictating that they are the only way, they're actually perverting the very creation of what God intended us to be in the first place. God wanted only one race of people, white race. If they only wanted Muslims, and they only wanted Sikhs, and they only wanted Christians, and so on and so forth, he would have created it that way. The fact is, we have a whole continent of black people with some whites that arrived there somewhere along the line. And we have India, and we're traveling all over, and we have people in all different lands right now, and native Indians and so on. But we all come from different cultures and a different place to be. And one of the most cruelest things that have been done on this planet is to attempt to try and destroy those cultures and races and what the spirit of those culture and races of people bring. And our very land is under attack, our waters and our seas, by not listening, to the native wisdom of what nature is, that it's a living organism, that this is Mother Earth. This is how all life will on this earth come and go and leave. And we are interrupting that whole cycle in a big way with the temporary idea that we must reach a material standard of wealth. That we must live like we want to live now, that there is no other life afterwards that we're working toward, or that we're responsible to the next generation of how they're going to live. And that immorality and that lack of ethics leave a world far worse for our children in the future. Now, on the positive is, a whole lot of people have made major progress on all levels of study of spirituality, materiality, but we have to grab the moment. We can't let these people who are criminal and immoral and so on want to destroy what that is. Because every time in man's history when man started to do well, evil entered in to attempt to destroy it and knock it down. This is how civilizations have crashed in the past, if you want to know. Myself and other beings on the planet is to deliver that message to you. If you don't want this to happen again in this civilization and how we're living right now, if you want the children that you're looking at and the grandchildren that you're looking at and that you're aiding and assisting to evolve their young, beautiful, intelligent minds to be somebody and something, to bring new knowledge to evolve man, the species of man, higher, and you've got to get them off the drugs. You've got to feed them better. You've got to provide some kind of spiritual study. Listen to them, their ideas. Listen to what they're about. It isn't just about getting up every day and going to school and going to work and just following the same old, same old, same old. Listen to what your children are creating. They may be the geniuses of tomorrow. They may have an insight into a reality that which you're more inclined to want to invalidate or make less of or less important. The minute your child speaks words from their mouth, words of wisdom, no matter how simple or how foolish it may seem to you, you hold them and you acknowledge it. You could be looking at the next Buddha. You don't know. You don't know. And each child is that precious. We owe them a future. And we're starting now to open up communication channels. And we're starting now to be able to bring people together. And if we do this, the wars that we see around the earth from one religion against another, from one political party against another, they're all trying to find, to get a piece of the pie using force and using evil. But there's only a small percentage of people that are doing this, you know? Not a large of the population are attempting to do this. So if, let's say, 20%, or let's say 15% or 10% control all the money in the world, control the politics of the world, control the cartels and the pharmaceuticals and all of that. Let's say all of these individuals have their own agenda. If we look at the truth of what it is, and the other 80% do what we're doing now, understand that these people don't see the spirit. You don't go pick up, artists have made and celebrities have made this error in the past where they start to create antagonism by attacking the antagonizer. You know, the government's doing something, so we'll go after the government or we'll protest against the government. We see so much of this in the States, and sometimes unjustly protesting individuals and subject matter that has no reason to protest because they're caught up into that. The way to win against an enemy is not to approach the enemy on the same ground. You don't have to, you know, step into the arena with somebody that isn't aware, isn't awakened, and then come down to their level. They can't see the spirit of who you are. That's the ace. That's the ace we hold. I'm communicating from a distance spiritually all the time with people. And I'm aware of it. And other people are aware, and you say, I can do that. You only got 5, you only have 5 perceptions. You know, your physical body, you only got a brain. And I mean, the lies, the amount of lies that you've accepted on this subject matter is so ridiculous. It's just amazing. Amazing. You're an infinite spirit, immortality with unlimited potential and capabilities. And you think you're just a meat body that you can only smell and hear and touch, you know, and that's it. Just with a little, where would the realities of thought come from if that were the case? Where would all the art come from, all the philosophers and all the stories? How could a man possibly have ever evolved up to the point where he can reach the stars? And we're communicating like this back and forth. If all we had was those kinds of perceptions, where are all these ideas and science coming from? They're not coming from a brain. A brain is a physical object. It translates the spiritual thought that you have through down to the cells and the cells through the brain with thought and so on, so you can communicate with the physical universe. That's all a brain is. Mm-hmm. All this other creativity that you have is coming from the spirit.
Yes.
So certain people have higher perception, higher intelligence, and it rises up into then spiritual intelligence. You can look at that at all from different levels along the way. And we're evolving up the race now to we're inheriting the knowledge of the spiritual intelligence age. That's my phone, but we let it ring and go. And that's what we're doing. And so, but how that's being interrupted, and this is very important. Man is evolving now to inherit the knowledge of the spirit on the psychological age. He's coming to a point where he's going to be able to take the past, the present, and the future and get a spiritual perspective to it. He's no longer going to need to be caught up into the past of how things were, or prevented from being able to move aggressively into the present with new science, new ideas. He's no longer going to have that barrier, or where he can't plan his own future. He is moving into that. It's a spiritual age. I'm going to use the word cognitive stage. Cognitive means to have higher awareness, to be, it's called cognition. And C-O-G-N-I-T-T-I-O-N. It's higher awareness. And we're moving into that age. And a whole lot of people are going to go in the other direction because they're unable to move into that, because they're too caught up into those that are keeping us from going there. All right? So that's one place where man is. But the ones who know we're going the other way are connecting up on a spiritual level and also meeting one another and using their bodies as symbols to communicate, like here now, on a spiritual level. And those people are connecting up. And you out there, if there's only even one that are listening, are connecting up in that regard. And from there, we start to develop the actual science that's going to better man. See, it's art, science, and administration. That's the food chain. It starts up with art, creating everything through an artistic concept of reality, the science of how to bring that about, and the admin is supposed to be the governments, the money, the investments, and everything else, and organization and management that goes in to bring that about. But the way we have it today in an oppressive society is we have admin on the top, we have science suppressed and used only for destructive purposes for the most part, and only when it can be used for capitalistic gain to profit. And we have the artists and new ideas and those that are coming up with brilliance being suppressed in our schools with psychiatric drugs. Oh, you got too high energy. Oh, you're thinking too far out of the box. Oh, you're too different. You got to be like Tommy over here. Make no mistake about it. This is an attack on our children and our youth and our future. So if you want to free yourself from that, and if you don't want to die old with a psychosomatic body of pains on all kinds of drugs and so on and so forth, listen to the old guys of the past, the old guys of the present, and more importantly, the young people of the now that are into that thought process of studying, and stop selling them on all these phones and computers and all of those kinds of things. Those are great vehicles, you know, great like driving a car. You know, it's a great thing to use to communicate with and so on and so forth. But remember, they're only things. They're only symbols. They're not life, right? You can't substitute putting your arms around somebody, your children. You can't substitute or negate your responsibility by saying, why don't you go in and play the games over there? Why don't you go on the internet and so on and so forth? That time goes by, and that child will be left alone, empty in a few years, because they're a human living soul. And you cannot disregard it. You cannot reject it. And eventually, if they feel that's the only standard and reason they got to live, if you want to know why young people are having such difficulty and committing suicide, is that apathy has set in because the elders that they were living with, that were supposed to support them and mentor them and guide them, have not been there sufficiently in our schools and otherwise, and give them that love and support that they need as beings, as living souls. They can't make it without it. And you know, it's not just about money and materialism. It's about that intimacy that you have with them. My father brought us up on $80 a week. Sometimes there was no heat in the house. My heart, I have tears in my heart now, just thinking about what they sacrificed for us to be able to have a life. I listened to 5 singers who were from the Philippines, and they were talking about their history when their dad used to go around picking up cans and everything else and garbage and selling it, and they were so embarrassed. And they went on X Factor, and I think they won, and it's called the Powerful Four or something like that. They were beautiful. They sung, and they're doing performances, making millions of dollars all the way around the world. Wow. They weren't brought up, you know, they weren't brought up with a silver spoon. Why are these young people going through in a middle-class lifestyle, going out on drugs, getting into gangs, and so on and so forth? Is because if you sell everybody on this middle-class idea that if all you do is attain a middle-class status of life, drive a nice car, have a nice house, work like a dog, right, and just do all of this over and over and over again, and there's no other meaning to life but that, you're going to lose them. Because A, you've already given them what you have, so they don't need to have that anymore because there's no new standard for them to achieve. Young people always have to have a higher standard than where you are. You can't put a limit on children and on young people coming up and saying, well, this is the cap, this is the top, this is as far as you're going to get, when you're robbing them of what they're supposed to be here to bring more to us, even to help us in our later years so we live a better life when we're older, because they're bringing in new income, they're bringing in new support, alternative medical care, and things like that, things that we need to support ourselves, right, in a lot of different ways. So there's 2 things going wrong there. You lose out, they lose out because they don't feel they got anywhere to go. They go downhill from enthusiasm toward life as a child. They go into apathy, and they're on drugs, and they're in gangs, and they're trying to find a place to be. And it's coming home to roost, as they say. It's coming toward us. We're not avoiding it. You know, we can't. Anyway, you got me on a roll. Sorry.
I know, don't be sorry. Don't be really. You know, really, time is situation. I know you are busy too. I am busy too. But really, if I would be conversation between you and I know we can go on and on and on, right? I really appreciate that you shared your heart big time. Really appreciate that. Our Curtis Anthony Simpson, all the way from Florida, he shared our post. Also, there are lots of viewers from all over the world. Greg Grover from Canada, he's the award-winning author and he's the one of the weight coach. He complimented about your nutritional entrepreneur business. Arvind Khanna has 2 very good intelligent questions, but right now, Arvind, we are out of time. So, but definitely, you know, myself as well as Patrick will answer your question. Jay Patel, hi Jay. Also, yes. Then Jark Mirza used to work with me, and today I'm celebrating. Jark, you need your freedom too, and Jark is also one of the entrepreneurs too. So I'm proud of you, and please forgive me if I forget to mention you. So thank you so much again. This is such a great message, given by God, and Patrick became the vehicle to pass this message. So like us, comment us, share us, because out of 7.5 billion people, yes, somebody is waiting for this message. So just by clicking that button, share, it's gonna change somebody else's life too.
And I just want to say thank you for your acknowledgments and the questions. If I had to know when there was going to be some questions, my time is fine. I got lots of time, but I know you have to go. And if in the future, if I can answer your questions, you can reach me on Patrick Walsh, Vancrooner, or if you want to be involved with me with my business or anything, it's patrickwalsh931@hotmail.com. And I just want to say thank you very much for having me on your show. And I will be following you and sending people to your programs, to your interviews, and much blessings to you.
And how can we we shouldn't forget our connector, Tina Tran, who
Oh,
is
yeah.
the actor, producer, director, and writer. And through I'm connected with Tina Tran, and Patrick is also connected with Tina Tran.
We're
And
waiting for
today,
that.
just so really appreciate with the short time of notice you just appeared, and ready to give your time and pour your wisdom. Really appreciate that, Patrick.
And hello, Tina. Nice to see you. If you're listening, or if you're listening into the future, appreciate what we're going to be doing together, and it looks really, really well. I just can't wait. Okay.
Me too. Absolutely, absolutely. So let me conclude with this. Believe in your wildest dreams. Don't let anybody steal your dreams. Just do it now. If Trump can win, so can you. You have the celebrity life. You are the.
You are the celebrity.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye.